I am joined here tonight by our team of resident experts, and I will turn it over now to our Deputy Head of School, Mr. Cole Carlson, to introduce our team.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And once again, I just want to say a big welcome to all of our current families and those prospective families that are on the call tonight. We appreciate your interest in GNS and our academic program. So we do have some great experts here tonight. Miss Leanne Giommi is our primary years coordinator at the Beach campus. Gina Simpson is the middle years program coordinator, which at GNS is grade 6 through 10. Angie, Girard is our diploma program coordinator, which is grade 11 and 12 students here at GNS. And then I have the privilege and honor of serving as the deputy head of school at GNS. And we all have different roles to play in tonight's presentation. We believe it's going to be roughly an hour of presentation time, followed by a Q&A, which Jacqueline, our manager of admissions, will be moderating. And so please do feel free to include those questions in the chat, and she can bring those forward at the end of the presentation. We do have some time set aside to answer any questions that come up. So please feel welcome to ask whatever you like. Next slide, please. Before we get into the agenda, I think it's important to do our land acknowledgement. I know our presenters are at various locations on our campuses, so I'm going to start with that. We wish to acknowledge and respect the Strait Salish peoples on whose traditional territory we gather here tonight. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen peoples, known today as the Songhees Nation and the Esquimalt Nation, whose historical relationships with the land where we live, work, play, and learn continue to this day. Next slide, please. So the agenda for this evening is outlined here. It was included in the invite, I believe. The first 6 bullets, that should be about 15 or 20 minutes, and I will be taking those pieces on. They're some of the larger context of the IB program. And then each of our coordinators will cover about 15 minutes in their respective areas for the primary years, middle years, and diploma program. And then, of course, we've got time for Q&A, and we're happy to answer as many questions as you have. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start with the International Baccalaureate Organization's mission statement. The International Baccalaureate, or as we typically refer to it as the IB, it offers 4 high quality and challenging educational programs for a worldwide community of schools aiming to create better, more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. The goal is to create active, compassionate, and lifelong learners who see the world with a global perspective. And you see their mission statement there, and I'm going to get into ours at GNS just for a bit of a comparison there. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So on this slide, this is the Glenline Norfolk School mission statement. Part of being an IB school means you have to go through a fairly rigorous evaluation visit. In our last evaluation visit from the IB, they evaluated all 3 of our programs. One of the visiting committee members from IB gave us a commendation on how well our school's mission and vision and strategic plan, which we call Momentum now, how well it aligns with the IB's mission and values. So we've got our mission there. We've been an IB school since 1996, and a PYP school and DP school and MYP. I mean, you can Google it, but it's longer than pretty well anyone else in Canada for some of those programs. To be honest, we've been around longer than the IB has as a school. And thus, one might also say that the IB's mission aligns well with our mission, as ours does with theirs. So our mission is to empower and support each of our students to do their best through truth and courage in learning and in life. That's really important, that in-life piece. We're trying to prepare students for life beyond their time here at GNS. Our vision to prepare outstanding citizens of character who will contribute to the world through their leadership, their commitment to service, and their understanding that we are all responsible for the future of our communities. And of course, our core values: truth, courage, caring, community, and individuality. So we do similar things that the IB organization does. That's, developing caring, skilled, and talented global citizens with outstanding moral character. If we could go to the next slide, please. So schools that offer 3 or 4 of the programs are called continuum schools. So GNS is known as an IB Continuum World School. There are more than 5,000 IB schools worldwide in over 150 different countries. It is the most widely recognized academic program in the world. Currently, there's just over 380 in Canada that are offering at least one of the IB programs, but half of them just offer the diploma program. The IB was started initially in Geneva with the intent that it was a passport to higher education, serving a lot of the expat community so that their children could go wherever they wanted in the world and be able to enter a post-secondary institution. One of the key founders was Kurt Hahn. You may be familiar with that name, but he was involved in starting the United World Colleges, Outward Bound, Duke of Ed, Round Square, and of course the IB. So a lot of similar crossover philosophies to those other programs that you may have some familiarity with. There is a 4th program with the IB called the Career-Related Program, or the CP for short. We don't offer that at GNS at this time. It's more appropriate for those seeking apprenticeships or employment right out of high school. As a university prep school here at GNS, it's not a program that we're currently implementing. The DP was established to provide challenging yet a balanced educational framework that facilitates geographical mobility so students can go anywhere they want in the world, and it's internationally recognized as a university entrance qualification. But it serves another purpose, that it promotes intercultural understanding and respect. At GNS, we often call this being globally minded or internationally minded. This entails helping our students reflect on their own perspectives, their own cultures and identities, and those of other people, engaging with diverse beliefs, values, and experiences, and learning to think and collaborate across cultures and disciplines. I think we'd all concur that those are more useful skills now than ever before. So each of the programs, all 3 that we offer, the primary years, the middle years, and the diploma program, they have a focus on international mindedness and developing that intercultural understanding. They do require study across a broad range of subjects. That's a key differentiator from some other programs that are available, some other educational programs. There is disciplinary work or subject-based work, as well as transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary work. And I believe some of my co-presenters might touch on those themes. There's an emphasis on learning additional languages. There's a focus on developing schools for lifelong learning. We call these approaches to learning skills, and I'll talk more about those in a little while. There are opportunities for individual work and certainly collaborative work. So I think those of you who have children currently attending the school, you'll recognize a lot of the work that we do here at the school requires collaboration. And we encourage our students to become responsible and active members of their community, the school community and the greater community, which fits in well with service, and when we do have a service requirement at this school. And it fits in really nicely with how we deliver programming with the Round Square organization as well. And although it is an accessible academic program, there is some academic rigor there. And as a university prep school, I think that that's important for our students to feel supported, but also well challenged. If we could go to the next slide, please. So I know one of the things that our community has expressed interest in hearing more about are some of the benefits of being an IB school. So I'm going to speak about benefits from a whole school perspective. When you become an IB school, you're authorized to deliver that program. You're part of a membership with an association of other IB schools around the world. We also have local partnerships. So there's the BC Association of IB World Schools. and there's a network of Canadian IB Continuum schools. There's program support, so how you deliver your program, the structures, training, a lot of collaborative professional practice, so professional development and training on best practices in education. That comes with being an IB school. An access to collaborative network of professionals, and we have a resource, a database that we can use to share resources as educators with people from all over the world. Staffing and teacher qualification standards are included in some of the IB program. We tend to hire teachers here at GNS who do already have IB training. Some universities, for example, UBC, they have an IB cohort when they are training new teachers. There's standardization in the program as well. So across the world, all of the schools that are running an IB program, they use a shared set of standards. They have shared practices, including some of the structures, the language that we use in instruction, and those are all locally adapted. So we do have the opportunity to change them to our own unique context. There's also shared assessment structures, shared values, an expectation we deliver a liberal arts course program, and lots of shared planning documents, which, because of this sharing, it makes things very transferable for students who are coming from different countries or different regions or different IB schools, even within the same city or country. And then another benefit from a school-wide perspective is there's some quality control here. So to become an authorized IB school and you're accredited in the delivery, you have to undergo regular routine evaluations of your program. And these are done by global experts in education. So we're part of that process. We get recommendations, we get feedback, we get commendations on our program. And there's also moderation that comes with some of the assessment. And I believe Mr. Girard will speak to that a bit later. And then another key benefit is, of course, university acceptance and recognition by post-secondary institutions. So to talk a little bit more about the benefits for students, we will share a number of links at some point in the presentation. I'm not sure if we're able to add them to the chat now, but if not, we'll make sure we add them at the end of the presentation. But there's a couple of links to some studies, one from Canada, one from the United States, that are fairly recent, 2019, 2022. But they talk about some of the research that's been done on a large scale, particularly in North America, on the benefits to students that are going through an IB program at a school. So, for example, a global study investigating performance in the primary years and middle years found that IB students outperformed non-IB peers in mathematics, reading, narrative writing, and expository writing. Qualitative data from another study on the Diploma program, this was done in the US, suggested that students who participated in the Diploma program during their high school years, they were more academically adjusted to the rigor and expectations of post-secondary. In fact, post-secondary institutes do a lot of tracking of IB students, and non-IB students who were admitted to post-secondary, 80% of them transitioned from their first year at university into their second year. But so those were non-IB students. The IB students transitioned from year 1 to year 2 at a rate of 88%. So 8% higher than their non-IB counterparts, who were all deemed university admissible. So that's a real testament to the strength of the IB education. Our diploma program graduates, they complete college faster than their peers, or they often have track records that demonstrate that by post-secondary institutions. They feel more prepared for college level coursework, including research, and they're better able to cope with the demanding workloads and time management pieces. Other benefits of university relate to university acceptance. Then I've got a table here on the screen. It might be a bit granular and hard to read, but it touches on some other really great benefits of being an IB student, in particular, what's known as a full diploma student. Mr. Girard will talk about that in a bit. But some universities will give course credit equivalencies, for students who attain certain levels and certain marks in their IB courses. So that can save, as a parent, that can save you time and money for your child in university if they get automatic entrance to a second year of a course, or they get to skip, say, Biology 101 because they've met that requirement in a diploma program, higher level biology course. Some students can get early admissions at certain universities, or there's some universities that have special guidance counselors designated only to the IB students. Some IB recognition includes early access to residence. So when you're trying to find housing in this challenging time, that can be a real perk. And often universities will have scholarship and financial aid that is designated just for IB students. And certainly there are universities that make it possible for early course selection as well. So a lot of great perks of being a full diploma student. And we'll include some links to some of those research studies into the chat if they're not already there. Next slide, please. So more on the university acceptance and recognition piece. IB has started to develop a search engine to assist with this. So this is just a shot of their search engine. It is fairly recent, but there's a growing number of post-secondaries that are being added. Those post-secondaries, they have to add and update their own information. So to be honest, it's got the list. It's a little bit rudimentary when you go through, but you can get an idea of some of the university offerings and how they manage IB, or at least links to specific landing pages at different universities. That's really important as well. We're going to include another link in the chat that's called Recognition for IB, and it's Canadian universities, and it outlines a lot of the different perks of being an IB student when you're in that admissions process. But this search engine comes in quite handy. So I'll show you an example on the next slide. So if you do a search for just the diploma program, it will come up. You can select the language of instruction. So if you wanted to go to a Spanish-speaking university or a French-speaking university or an English-speaking university, you can select that. So I've selected an English-speaking university, and I just chose the United States as an example. And it will come up with a list of all the universities that have chosen to upload something in this database. And as you scroll through, it's all alphabetized. So if we go to the next one, I think I've got a screenshot from another university. So Brown, early in the alphabet, that's the only reason why I picked it. I figured a number of people would recognize the university's name. But you can see how many students have gone there recently on their IB diploma as the credential. So 1,290 students. So they're tracking the IB students very closely, because universities, quite frankly, they want to know when they're admitting a student that there's a high likelihood they're going to be successful and continue year to year and get their degree and have a positive experience and potentially come back for grad school. So that's really important. If we go to the next slide. A lot of students at GNS, they'll go to university all over the world. We have kids who go to Oxford and Harvard and, schools in Japan or in Germany, but we also have a lot of kids who go to school locally. So not to promote any particular post-secondary, I just thought I would show this one as a local example. So the University of Victoria, a lot of universities will have a specific landing page just for IB students. So when you're researching universities, that's something that you might want to do in your Google search, is just University of Victoria International Baccalaureate program, and it will bring you to a landing page. This one is a really nice one because it actually is a picture of our university guidance office here at Glen Lyon Norfolk School, and that is one of our students wearing a GNS grad shirt. So it's just kind of a nice page, but it shows you the emphasis that they have on IB schools and their students. And it's really important because the program, the IB program, encourages kids to be well-rounded. So the university can look forward to these students wanting to be involved in arts and clubs and sports and service and leadership activities and different programs that they offer that contribute to the life of the school, the university. Next page, please. One a little bit farther away, University of Toronto, just another example of their unique landing page. Some of them will have different brochures or reading material that you can request specific to the IB as well. Next page. So a unique piece that is similar across the primary years, middle years, and diploma program is called the IB Learner Profile. The learner profile aims to develop learners who are inquirers, knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, they're principled, they're open-minded, they're caring, they're risk takers, which at some IB schools, they call it courageous. They're balanced, they're reflective, and the IB does allow schools to add learner profile attributes. So GNS has added one called persevering. And I just want to read a little note about persevering for you. When we considered adding that as a learner profile attribute, it was because we feel we see possibilities where others see impossibilities. And we're not afraid of failure here. So we work hard, we're determined, but we're determined to make progress despite obstacles and limitations. And we have a focus on goal setting and being growth oriented. So that's really important to us here at GNS. The learner profile attributes, and those with current students here at the school, I'm sure you've heard some of these terms from your children. The learner profile attributes are very similar to the province of BC's core competencies. So if your students have attended a local public school, for example, or a school that was not offering the IB, they may have used words that they refer to as the core competencies. So the core competencies in BC include communication, collaboration, thinking, which has a branch, creative, critical, and reflective thinking, and then personal and social responsibility and identity. So a lot of that is similar to what is discussed in the IB. It's a new, fairly new piece of the graduation experience here in the province of British Columbia. But it is very close to what the IB has been delivering on for decades. So there are a lot of changes that are coming down the pipe in British Columbia that align the BC curriculum and the BC academic program with what the IB has been doing globally. And this includes going beyond standardized testing, these core competencies I just mentioned, the changes to reporting, assessment, just aligning program goals so that it suits the needs of all learners. That's really important. And it's a nice thing that as an IB school, you know, we've been on top of this for a long, long time. Next slide, please. Another common piece to all three programs is the approaches to teaching. Each IB program provides a detailed and developmentally appropriate curriculum or curriculum framework that's broad, balanced, conceptual, and connected. So the approaches to teaching, really short, essentially allows teachers to deliver different teaching methods to support all learners and remove barriers to learning. And there's a connection to how we assess there as well. Next slide, please. The approaches to learning skills are 5 categories of interrelated skills that give students a sense of agency and their goal-oriented growth mindsets. So these learning skills include thinking skills, research skills, communication skills, social skills, and self-management skills. And these are things that we intentionally develop when we're creating units and lessons for our students. Next slide, please. Before I hand it off to Leanne, I'm going to just bring up this diagram. This diagram is from the IB program Standards and Practices document. It's a visual representation of how we as a school work coherently and collaboratively to structure and deliver our program. Keep in mind that the center of all of this, the experience should be based on the needs of the learner. So that's why you see learning in the middle, and it's always the focus on everything we do here at GNS. We integrate the IB philosophy with our school's own unique context and the BC curriculum. So we share a common purpose. We provide a well-structured learning environment that's sustained by organizational practice and great resources. And we foster a dynamic school culture that's centered on inclusion, it's holistic, and it's a fun place to be. Next slide, please. At this point, I've just got a diagram. Some of you may be familiar with the IB wheels. There's a different one for each of the three programs, PYP, MYP, and DP. You'll probably see them on images around the school, and they're often they're similar at different schools. You'll see these wheels that encompass much of what the program is about. At this stage, I'm going to hand it off to Leanne Giommi, our primary years program coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I am very fortunate to be at the junior school and working as the PYP coordinator. This is my 25th year at the school, and I've taught grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5. An amazing picture here of some students in grade 2 ending a summative unit of inquiry looking at economics and needs and wants. If we could have the next slide, that would be fantastic. I'm hoping that tonight that I will be able to share what learning looks like in the junior school, and not only what it looks like, but why we do what we do. So at the very heart of the PYP is agency that Mr. Carlson spoke about. And really everything we do, the teaching, how we present to the students is all built around this premise that children are very capable learners and that it's our responsibility to help them uncover and realize their potential and understand and build that self-efficacy so that they really know and understand that they are empowered to be amazing learners. So if we could have the next slide, please. So what does this look like? On a day-to-day basis, the way we structure the learning, it's creating opportunities for students to take ownership of their learning. They need to be able to make choices. They need to be able to access resources. They become experts at asking questions, voicing their opinions, constructing meaning, new meaning, measuring it against existing knowledge, and coming up with new understandings, and then sharing that. Collaboration is huge in the PYP. They really believe that learning is a social, we construct our knowledge in a social setting. And so we organize our learning that way at the school. If we could have the next slide, please. So hand in hand with the inquiry hand in hand with the agency is an inquiry-based approach. This is the main pedagogical approach in the PYP, and not only units of inquiry that your children might come home and talk about. Not only are they inquiry driven, but all learning in the PYP is inquiry driven. So I just love these photos here. The two children who have the colored papers in front of them, the teacher has just modeled some writing, some personal narrative, and the question was posed, what do you see me do or hear me say that tells you I know how to write for a reader? And the children watched the model, they brainstormed everything that they saw, and now they're sorting in and classifying what they saw into, these are the things that I know that the person did that help with the rules of the writing, and these are the things that they did to make their writing interesting. So really high level, amazing learning that comes out of this. So sorry here. So basically, inquiry often gets a bit of a bad rap, or maybe there's misconceptions around it because people will associate it with experiential learning or discovery learning, but it is really, although those pieces can play a part, it is highly, highly scaffolded by the teachers, very planned out. There's guided inquiry, which is the main approach for the PYP, and there often is open inquiry for the students as well, but the teachers are really spending time when the learners are very, very young, to nurture this independence and gradually release that responsibility. So as the students get older, that they have that control and responsibility, and they really know how to learn. Okay, this one is always a little bit confusing for people because what is transdisciplinary? And the IB defines it as going between, across, and beyond the disciplines. So students have an interest, they form questions, and then they have a chance to look into these big ideas with multiple lenses with the subjects. And IB organizes the transdisciplinary themes into who we are, where we are in place and time, how we express ourselves, how the world works, how we organize ourselves, and sharing the planet. And IB has identified these as being themes that are worth exploring for all children, regardless of where you live or your beliefs or your identity. So everything is organized in this way. And if we can have the next slide. So it looks a little bit overwhelming, but this is our junior school program of inquiry. And every piece of paper you see there is a different unit of inquiry that has been collaboratively planned by the teachers. So collaboration is not only a key component for the students and the learning, but it is essential for us to deliver our program. And all grade levels come together, all teachers come together, regardless of what subject they teach or the age level that they teach, and they help to develop these units of inquiry, the central ideas, the big ideas that are being looked into, the conceptual lens that it is being explored through, what subjects are being taught, and the skills that, the transferable skills that can be applied across the board, but also the subject-specific skills. And then the teachers layer in the knowledge that they're responsible for their curriculum into this. And you can see the picture here. We spend quite a bit of time building this program together, and this is something that is a requirement of IB. They expect us to take our learning, take our curriculum, our ministry curriculum, and the majority of it is to be throughout this program of inquiry. All social studies and science must be taught through our program of inquiry, and then math, languages, including English language arts, the arts, and physical and health education can be taught a little bit outside of the program of inquiry, but really at all times we are looking and for ways to build in this collaborative approach to teaching with the staff. And if we could have the next slide. I just thought I'd highlight a couple of units of inquiry here. So the one on our left, how we express ourselves, signs and symbols. This was a brilliant one that Mr. Haynes, our music teacher, tied into, and the students were able to explore symbolic notation. They looked at traditional notation for music, and then looked to world music to explore all the different ways that music notation can be written. So it was very rich and meaningful for music. And then in how the world works, the forms of energy, really exploring light and sound. And Mrs. Fletcher, our art teacher, tied into this unit, exploring color theory with the students and really getting into pointillism. And that was a grade 2 unit of inquiry. So really rich, really deep, amazing learning happening. And if we can have our last, I think my last slide. And it all ends in grade 5 with exhibition. It is the culminating experience. It's an opportunity for students to drive their own learning really fully here. We've scaffolded over the years, we've provided context, and now the students have an opportunity to explore on their own. So it is collaborative. The students design their learning experiences. They're practicing all of the things we've been having them do, set goals, reflect on their learning, use those approaches to learning skills that Mr. Carlson talked about, managing their time, being able to research, collaborate with one another, communicate, and they assess themselves. They figure out what the criteria are for success. They self-assess, and then they take action on their learning and share it with the school community. So that is the PYP in a nutshell. I hope it has given people a little better picture of what your children are doing and the amazing work they're doing all day long at school. And I want to move over now to our MYP coordinator, Ms. Simpson.
Hi, thank you, Leanne. Good evening, everyone. I am pleased to be joining you this evening to share with you a little bit about our middle years IB program at GNS. So if we can get the next slide, please. So this visual shows a lot of different elements that work together in the middle years IB program. So I like to see the MYP as kind of that bridge in the IB continuum between the PYP, which ends in grade 5, and the diploma program, which starts in grade 11. So every student enrolled at GNS in grades 6 through 10 fully participates in the middle years IB program. And this age group is a really interesting time for students. They're exploring and establishing their identities, building self-esteem, and the MYP can really help students achieve success in school and in life beyond the classroom by allowing students to build on their personal strengths and embrace challenges and subjects in which they might not excel. So a really great quote from a past Director General of the IB sums up the perspective of teaching and learning in the MYP. And he says, what matters most is not the absorption and regurgitation either of facts or pre-digested interpretation of facts, but the development of powers of the mind or ways of thinking which can be applied to new situations and new presentations of facts as they arise. So some quick highlights of the MYP. Similar to the primary years program, as Leanne was just mentioning, the MYP provides a curriculum framework through which we deliver the provincial curriculum. And each teacher identifies key concepts. And again, you might have noticed that in Leanne's presentation of key and related concepts. This continues on in the middle years program. So we might use key concepts such as change or relationships or perspective through which to guide students' inquiry into various content, as well as helping students make connections to what we call global contexts. And those global contexts are things like fairness and development and science and technical innovation. And these really help students to make connections to the world around them. These global contexts also really help embed international mindedness, which is a foundational principle of the IB, and within each subject of the program. So it supports an interconnected global view of and sense of responsibility to the world. And we really like to help encourage, develop that in our students. Services action, I know has been mentioned previously, but it is an important part of the MYP experience. So we work with our service coordinator and endeavor to incorporate learning by doing and experiencing. And we collaborate with students to scaffold service learning objectives by grade and support participation in service opportunities to encourage learners to be caring and contributing members of society. One significant transition from PYP into the MYP is the definition of 8 defined subject areas. So those are listed here on this slide. And just to quickly review them, language and literature, and for parents' frame of reference, this could have been called English in your school's experience. We also offer language acquisition, which is offered in French, Spanish, and Mandarin in the middle years program. individuals and societies, formerly known as social studies, history, and geography, sciences, mathematics, the arts, and so this includes performing arts such as theater and music, as well as visual arts, physical and health education, and design. So all of our MYP teachers are specialists in their subjects and facilitate opportunities for that ongoing open-ended inquiry and real-life investigations to encourage student initiative and appropriate means of expression. Next slide, please. So as mentioned earlier in the presentation, approaches to learning skills are first introduced in the primary years program and continue to be a key component in the middle years program, really helping students develop effective skills in every unit of study across all subjects. So teachers identify specific approaches to learning skills in every unit and work to scaffold the development of these skills throughout each unit of study in the MYP. And we do that by introducing them in the early years of the MYP, helping refine them throughout the program, and hopefully moving towards mastery as they move towards the end of the MYP in grade 10. And one easy way of thinking about these skills is we like to refer to kind of a toolbox analogy, where each of these skills are essentially tools in each student's toolbox. So the MYP continues to add tools or skills to their toolbox so that at the culmination of the program, they're fully prepared to take on new challenges of either the diploma program, if they so choose, or alternate pathways available to them at GNS. Next slide, please. So much of our approaches to teaching continues throughout the continuum, and one consistent feature is students engaging in and completing formative and summative work. So just to quickly review, so everyone's on the same page, formative tasks are what we consider assessment for learning. So you could think of this as that pause midway through the learning to check in where students are in their development of skills and understanding. And they're really great moments for teachers and students to identify strengths and opportunities for continued improvement as they work towards that final summative assessment. So feedback is provided on these formative tasks in a variety of forms. It could range from comments given in the moment, annotations, or the use of subject-specific criteria. And again, all of this formative work really helps students build towards the summative task, which is what we call assessment of learning. One of the biggest differentiating factors of the MYP is our criterion-related assessment, which is a key part in reporting achievement in the MYP. So each subject has 4 subject-specific criteria, focusing on specific competencies that we're looking to help students develop. In general terms, we can largely base these around what we call criterion A, knowledge and understanding. Criterion B is largely around investigation. Criterion C, communication, and criterion D is a lot around critical thinking and reflection. And these vary slightly from subject to subject. On this slide, it does show an example of one of the 4 subject-specific criteria for individuals and societies for a grade 6 level, or what we would call year 1 in the MYP. So teachers will edit these rubrics to make them more specific to each task, and students are provided with these at the beginning of each task, which will help students understand what needs to be done. And then teachers can use these rubrics to provide very specific feedback for students to help them identify strengths and opportunities for improvement. Now, you will notice that on the left-hand side, there are 8 levels of achievement. Many people new to the MYP really want to mathematically calculate the achievement level. So for example, if a student receives an achievement level of 4, some may try to say 4 divided by 8 equals 50%. We strongly discourage this, as frankly, it's incorrect and does not accurately equate achievement in the MYP. A 4, in fact, is demonstrating proficiency and is not anywhere close to what we would consider or what we would think of as 50%. In September, there will be an MYP assessment specific virtual session, hoping to get it down to half an hour or less for our community to become more familiar with this form of assessment, especially useful for parents new to the MYP, just to help them better support their students at home. Next slide, please. At the end of the middle years program, in their grade 10 year, students engage in a culminating activity, which is a really wonderful opportunity for students to be able to showcase their interests and abilities. And so we call this the personal project, and it's an independent, student-centered endeavor which enables students to engage in practical explorations through a cycle of inquiry, action, and reflection. So this process that they go through, or the design cycle, it mirrors the design cycle which students first start working with in various iterations in the PYP and continue throughout the MYP and in their design classes. So they're very familiar with this process by the time they get to grade 10. In the personal project, students create a learning goal, what they hope to learn about throughout the process, and a product goal, what they hope to achieve or create at the end of their project. And they're supported by a personal project coordinator as well as a teacher supervisor, mostly to help with their self-management in completing this personal independent endeavor. And grade 10 students begin this project at the beginning of their grade 10 year and share their completed projects with the community in February of their grade 10 year. And next slide, please. And this is just a quick example of a few projects from past years. It's a really great opportunity to see students demonstrate how they've explored something of interest to them. So we really want to encourage students to choose a topic that they don't necessarily get to dive into within the confines of their subject areas. However, they can if they want as well. So examples of past projects, some are represented in these photos here. We do a science fair in grade 9. So in the past, we have had a few students choose to expand upon those science fair projects. We've had students want to learn to knit and create warm clothing to donate to shelters. We've had some students learn more about Chinese zodiac and the art of paper cutting to create aesthetically pleasing designs. We've had students want to try their hand at building a go-kart, creating and coding video games. We've had a student create a bionic arm. And we've also had students choose to challenge their fears and investigate strategies to navigate stage fright. And this student was terrified of getting up on stage and challenged themselves to sing an original song in front of an auditorium full of people. So that was a really special moment at the Personal Project exhibition for her to stand up and share that with the community. It's always a highlight of the year to see what these students have worked so hard towards and really proudly share their results. And so that brings to an end my section of the MYP portion of this presentation. So I will now pass it on to our diploma coordinator, Miss Angie Girard. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As mentioned, my name is Angie Girard, and I've had the pleasure of being the IB Diploma Coordinator here at GNS for the past 10 years. The picture you see on the slide was taken in December at this year's EE Extravaganza, celebrating the diploma candidates' completion of their extended essays, which I will talk about in a little bit. The IB Diploma program was the first of the 3 IB programs to be introduced at GNS in 1996, and this year we are pleased to celebrate its 27th graduating class. The DP, as with the PYP and MYP, is an internationally recognized program, as they all are. The DP, though, spans the last 2 years of high school, and for us at GNS, those are, of course, the last 2 years that we offer, grades 11 and 12. The program engages students in their own learning and teaches them how to think critically, to question and to appreciate other points of view through intercultural understanding and respect, and prepare students well, not only for their post-secondary pursuits, but also for life beyond. Next slide, please. Building off of their experiences in the PYP and the MYP, students continue to refine and polish skills that they have added to their toolkit, as Gina just mentioned, throughout their time at GNS. These schools include, but are certainly not limited to, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, skills that will definitely prepare them for the future. As an IB Continuum school, we do not require that students apply to be part of our diploma program, as we know that students coming out of our MYP and PYP programs are ready to make the transition to the DP. We do often have new students joining us in grade 11 specifically for the diploma program. And although some new students come from IB schools, many do not. But with the support of our team, including subject teachers, home form advisors, our health center, our university guidance advisors, and the new students' peers, these new students soon feel part of our community. By the time our students graduate, they are well prepared to embark upon their next chapter. And each year we hear back from our alumni with heartwarming and inspiring stories of how well it is going for them in a variety of programs at diverse post-secondary institutions. Next slide, please. If you take nothing else away from this part of the presentation, it is that we offer choice in our pathways toward graduation. Students are encouraged to choose their own adventure and consider best fit for themselves and in considering their alignment with future plans. As such, they may choose to engage with the diploma program as either, as you'll see on the left, a diploma candidate, or, as you'll see on the right, as a course candidate. Each student, with the support of their team, those that I mentioned in the previous slide, will choose the pathway toward graduation that is best fit for them. These important decisions are never made in isolation. One pathway that students may choose is that of a full diploma candidate. And although not an official IB term, there are lots of IB terms, but the use of the word full in front of the diploma program is one that we like to use at GNS to ensure a clearer understanding to delineate between diploma and course candidates. So a diploma candidate will take 6 diploma courses and will be fully involved in the diploma core, which includes theory of knowledge, the extended essay, and CAS. Another pathway is where students choose to take 6 or 7 diploma courses with or without theory of knowledge as an elective, but they will not write an extended essay and they will not be involved in CAS. And yet another pathway is where students choose to become course candidates taking a combination of diploma courses and provincial courses. But again, they will not write an extended essay or be involved in CAS. Next slide, please. Now, this slide looks fairly straightforward, very colorful and not too many words on it, but it does contain a great deal of information, so please bear with me. This will be the longest slide of my presentation. So if a student chooses to embark upon the full diploma program, their program will include the following, as I just mentioned, 6 subjects, 1 from each of the 6 different subject groups, including studies in language and literature, language acquisition, individuals and societies, sciences, maths, and the arts. And there is the flexibility within the diploma program to double up if a student does not want to take one of the IB Diploma arts courses. In lieu of that, they may take 2 subjects under individuals and societies, for example, economics and global politics. Or instead of an arts course, they might take 2 sciences. They could take chemistry and physics. They will choose also 3 subjects at the higher level and 3 at the standard level. IB and all of its terminology. So let me explain some of what this means. The common difference between HL and SL subjects, higher and standard level subjects, is the number of instructional hours. So at a very basic level, for HL subjects, IB requires 240 instructional hours over the 2 years of grades 11 and 12. And for SL or standard level subjects, IB requires 150 instructional hours. In addition, though, there are subject-specific differences between HL and SL, such as additional content that might be studied at the higher level, and or engagement with the content, with greater breadth and depth at the higher level. Many post-secondary institutions within Canada, and Cole mentioned this in his part of the presentation, they do offer transfer credit for individual HL diploma courses in which students earn a 5, a 6, or a 7 as their final grade, 7 being the maximum you can earn in any diploma course as your final grade. So a 5, a 6, or a 7. At many institutions, students may then choose to opt for the transfer credit. Some choose not to take it. And if they decide to opt for it, they may decide also how they wish to use the transfer credits by perhaps taking a lighter course load in the first year or first semester, or taking an elective course that they would not have been able to take had they not earned the transfer credit, or enter the second year course. The transfer credit process does vary from institution to institution. One size does not fit all. And of course, it is an ever-changing landscape, as we often hear from our university guidance advisors. So sometimes the process does vary year by year. Full diploma candidates will also take part in the core, which aims to broaden students' educational experience and challenge them to apply their knowledge and skills. And I mentioned these briefly earlier, so now I'll delve into a little bit of detail in them. So the 3 elements of the core, again, if we were back at the program model that Cole showed us, it literally sits at the center of the diploma program. There are 3 elements: creativity, activity, and service, also known as CAS, the extended essay, known as the EE, and theory of knowledge, known as TOK. The first element, creativity, activity, and service. CAS provides a framework for a diploma candidate's co-curricular involvement. It is a key component in helping students to discover and maintain balance during the diploma program. So it will not allow them to put all of their eggs into the academic basket. As such, students must involve themselves in a variety of experiences that link to each of the 3 strands of creativity, activity, and service throughout the 2 years of the program. The extended essay is a 4,000-word research paper which promotes high-level research, and writing skills, intellectual discovery, and creativity. It is an opportunity to engage in independent research under the guidance of a supervisor, and it is the culminating piece within the diploma program. Theory of knowledge is a unique course taken in addition to the 6 diploma subjects where students explore ideas from a variety of disciplines and perspectives. The emphasis is on exploring real-world knowledge issues with the goal of helping students learn to question their own assumptions so they become flexible problem solvers. And you're probably hearing some common themes throughout PYP, MYP, and the DP. The core is a distinguishing feature of the diploma program, without a doubt, that is not seen in other educational programs or academic pursuits such as AP. As such, it is viewed very favorably by post-secondary institutions as it highlights the preparation and well-roundedness that students who have completed the full diploma bring to their post-secondary applications and future studies. Students who have not only the academic preparedness, but who also lead a balanced life and are involved in their communities are often very successful in the post-secondary landscape. Again, something that Cole mentioned earlier. Whether the students choose the higher or standard level, the diploma courses offer all students a greater challenge than provincial courses. But what you may not know is that one of IB's principles is anchored in inclusion and access. What does this mean? It means that if a student's usual way of working allows them access to, for example, additional time, a scribe, or reading software, with the proper documentation, we can apply to IB for approval of these inclusive assessment arrangements for use by students in grades 11 and 12, leading up to and including the May exams in year 2 or grade 12. Of note, over the past 10 years, as I've been DP coordinator, we have seen increasing numbers of students with learning differences take diploma courses either as part of the full diploma program or as course candidates and meet with success. Course candidates, as described in the previous slide, may take theory of knowledge as an elective. Although their pathway does not include being involved in the other 2 elements of the core, our students are required to be involved in our service program every year as part of the BC graduation program requirements. And they also, of course, will take part in our well-rounded co-curricular program. It is important to note that the students who choose to embark upon the full diploma program and discover that perhaps this pathway is not the best fit for them, they are able to pull back and become course candidates. However, there are specific times during which they may do this because we don't want to put too much extra pressure on either students or teachers in making these changes at times that would incur additional pressure or stress. So the times usually are near the beginning, within the first month of year 1 or grade 11, or closer to the end of year 1, grade 11. Students may not embark upon the course candidate pathway, however, and then choose to become diploma candidates later on. Cole did mention the final bubble on my slide here in connection with all of the IB programs, but I just wanted to touch on how they connect to the diploma program. So teaching and learning in the diploma program engages students as inquirers and thinkers. Again, there's some common themes here. Promotes the understanding and practice of academic honesty, addresses the diversity of students, develops the IB learner profile attributes, and addresses language needs, including those for students learning in a language or languages other than their mother tongue. Regarding intercultural understanding within the diploma program, the subject aims, the objectives, content and assessment criteria are written in order to develop international mindedness while at the same time ensuring that teachers have enough choice to make the course locally relevant and grounded. Next slide, please. We recognize that there is always interest in knowing the numbers, the stats behind a number of different features of our programs. I wanted to share this one related to the number of students involved in each of our pathways towards graduation. So in this chart, blue represents the full diploma candidates, those students taking 6 diploma subjects, TOK, EE, and CAS. Green represents the course candidates. Again, those are the students taking either all courses as diploma subjects with or without TOK as an elective, but with no involvement in EE or CAS, or perhaps a combination of diploma and provincial courses, TOK as an elective, no involvement in EE or CAS. Attrition can occur for a variety of reasons. It happens every year. And if that means pulling back from the full diploma is a better way to support students, or a better option for students in order to support their post-secondary alignment or the rigor of the program that arises along the way. The most important thing to remember is that we are here to support all students. And again, we value the best fit piece. And the yellow, it's not a very bright yellow, but the yellow represents students taking a pathway that includes only provincial courses. This may include students with learning differences and or students who join us in grade 12 for graduation. And because they haven't joined us in grade 11, they're coming basically halfway through the 2-year courses, and so they cannot be working towards an IB credit, either as a full diploma candidate or as a course candidate. Next slide, please. As you will see, over the last 5 years, our full diploma candidates have exceeded the worldwide average of the number of total points earned. A maximum worldwide can be earned up to 45 points. In addition, over the past 5 years, our average results in individual subjects have met or exceeded the worldwide average. We are, of course, proud of our results each year, but we are especially proud of each of our students and their unique journey to graduation. Thank you. I'll now hand it back over to Cole or Jacqueline.
Thank you, Angie. I can jump in. I think Jacqueline's going to help support with any questions that may have come forward. I know that we did get some questions early on in advance of the presentation, and one that I did want to touch on a little bit more because it came up from a few people was the difference between the diploma program of the IB and advanced placement. And myself, coming up through high school, I did advanced placement courses, but I have worked in educational organizations that have had advanced placement or have been IB schools. And I have children that I have raised through IB schools personally. But here are some key differences. Advanced placement was established by the College Board. So this is something you may recognize from PSAT or SAT tests. It's the same organization. So they're highly regarded in Canada and the USA, less known internationally. And they're based on assessments. So you have exams at the end of advanced placement courses, and you can pick them a la carte. If you really like biology, you could just do advanced placement biology. If you really like English, you could just do advanced placement English, or whichever courses you're interested in. And they have a variety of courses. So it really is picking the ones that you want to challenge yourself in or that you have a special interest in. Whereas the International Baccalaureate program, it's a world-recognized diploma. So if we chose not to deliver the BC curriculum, our students have a graduation requirement regardless if they've done the IB full diploma. It's a whole comprehensive, holistic education package so that kids could go and apply to post-secondary anywhere on earth with that as their criteria without the BC graduation. Now here at GNS, our full diploma kids will have both the BC grad requirements and the IB diploma, or if we have students who are course candidates and they're just picking and choosing certain diploma program courses, you can do that too. You'll graduate with the BC Dogwood diploma, but you will have taken a selection of IB courses. So we have a little more flexibility that way. Other key differences, again, the IB requires creativity and activity and service. It's built into the model. It forces kids to go outside of their comfort zone, not just pick courses of interest. You are required to complete service. You are required to do an extended essay, as Angie mentioned, that's university level research material and crosses disciplinary areas versus sticking within one subject area. Both AP courses and diploma program courses, particularly the high level courses, you can, depending on how you score in the course or on the exam, you can get post-secondary credit. But the IB diploma, you have an opportunity to do more of those courses, whereas the AP is often capped at a certain number of credits that can be awarded at different institutions. And of course, the IB is more known. So for our students, if they're going back to a country, if they're in our boarding program, for example, they want to go back to their home country, it can serve them really well that way. Or for any of our students who really have that travel bug and want to see the world, they've got the global perspective and a recognized diploma that they can use for their application. So other key pieces, being an IB Continuum school, even if the students don't do the full DP diploma, they are exposed to IB faculty and staff who have a certain way of delivering content. They use language from the IB because they might teach a provincial course like law, but they also might teach IB diploma, global politics, or economics. So they're using IB language here, regardless of whether they're doing a provincial course or not. And then those learner profile attributes and the approaches to learning skills are often encompassed into what they're doing in their classroom. So that's really a wonderful thing about being an IB Continuum school. But both are great programs. One is probably a bit more broad and forces you to be holistic and well-rounded, whereas the other one lets you just zero in on a specific subject you might really love. The AP more recently has developed, it's called a capstone project, and that is to try to capture some of what you get from the theory of knowledge and extended essay with a rigorous essay-like assessment as well. So there is a comparable piece there, but it's a bit newer for the advanced placement program, whereas it's been part of the DP for decades. I hope that addresses those questions, but I'm certainly happy to talk more about that if people have more specific questions related to it, or they want to reach out anytime. I know our team here is they're quite happy to have phone calls and emails to really zero in on different parts of their program because they like to talk about those things that they're really proud of. So any other questions, we're happy to tackle.
I do have a few questions here, Cole. For you, Angie, can you remind us again what CAS is? That's CAS is the acronym.
Yeah, so it really is a framework for co-curricular. So the diploma program, as I mentioned, doesn't want students, and this was from the early days of its inception in 1968. CAS has been in existence since then. So I always say to the students, these IB folks, they were very savvy way back in the day, that it wasn't healthy for students to put all of their eggs into the academic baskets and, you know, all work and no play, study, 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 get the highest grades possible, but have no life. And so I'll use the term that students use with me at their outgoing CAS interviews in grade 12. It forced me, madame, to find balance, because otherwise I would have studied, but it forced me to be involved in creative pursuits, activity, which is looking after in some shape or form their physical well-being, which we know helps their mental and social emotional well-being, and then being involved in service. And just like the academic part side of the diploma program, there's a framework. So they don't just get to identify as, I'm the athlete, I can't do anything, I'm not creative. We find ways and support ways for students to engage in creativity, or someone who considers themselves the musician, and I don't do sports, or individual, you know, workouts, madame. We find ways for them to find the breadth and depth in their co-curricular framework, as well as in their academic program.
Thank you, Angie. I just have one quick question for you, Gina. We did touch a little bit on differentiation in the classroom, as well as accommodations for diploma exams. For students that do find the academic rigor of the middle years program trickier than most, what kind of supports are in place at GNS for those students?
Great question. So in the middle years program, students can enter, I know that this was another question that was kind of fed early on. Students can enter in any year of the MYP. So I know some families might have been concerned of if my child doesn't enter in grade 6 or 7, can they enter in grade 9 or 10? And the answer is absolutely. We really like to say that we can meet students where they're at in their learning and help them develop from there. You know, we do deliver the BC curriculum through this framework, and we have a criterion related approach. So we are able to quite quickly identify if students are struggling or if there are particular areas that are requiring additional support. And, we are able to differentiate, within a reasonable extent, absolutely, to help support students within the class. In the middle school, we have homework clubs that are offered a couple of days after school. Teachers are always available for additional help and support. There's no mystery in our work and in our assessments. So, students know exactly what they're working towards, and teachers can really help chunk and break that down for them. But with that being said, without an individual education plan, we cannot modify our work to or the criterion to help students. So they do have to meet. They do have to be able to meet basic requirements, I would say. But more often than not, we are able to, as I said, meet them where they're at and really help them kind of develop those skills to help them be successful.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Gina said. I certainly, we have a pretty incredible resource team here in terms of our learning strategies department. So they are experienced, and their area of specialty is on learning strategies and differentiation and supports. We have a number of ed assistants as well at the school. We have counselors, we have a nurse. So there's lots of different types of supports. There's support for English language acquisition as well. We have some class time for that for some students who need that. Certainly, accommodations may take different forms, and we have assistive technologies that we use, organizational tools that we use. We might front load with vocab or sets of notes, or I probably should say, because the IB isn't just based on assessments and tests, there is a lot of flexibility in voice and choice for our students, so that they can demonstrate their learning in different ways. And that comes across in kids who want to speak about what their learning looked like, or create something, or do an assessment, or write about it. There's lots of different ways to demonstrate learning. So lots of flexibility and lots of voice and choice for our students.
Thank you, Cole. On that note, we do have no further questions. Cole, did you have any final words before we close out for the night?
I would just love to take another moment to say thank you to everybody for being here, and certainly to the other co-presenters and to Jacqueline for helping to organize. Thank you all for being here. I know that you value education deeply. If you've got your kids here, I look forward to seeing you very soon. If you're considering GNS, we look forward to answering any other questions in the future. So please don't be shy about reaching out. We're here for you. And if you didn't value education, you wouldn't have just given up the last hour and a half of your time learning from some people who are probably sharing a lot of jargon. So if you need us to go through things a little slower or a little deeper, we're happy to sit down one-on-one anytime with anybody. So thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.